All right, we are live. Hi, PJ. How are you doing today?
I am good. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I am so excited for tonight. We're going to get up and moving and learn some different exercises that we can do at home for strength and mobility. And I feel like after the week I've had, this is going to be very needed for me because I've been sitting
You've
at
had a
the
rough week?
office. It's been a crazy week. We had Black Friday early access and we're prepping for the holidays. So it's just been a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
at the computer. And I'm sure a lot of my fellow audience members who work in an office, they can relate to that 8 hour stretch where you don't get up very often, besides maybe a cup of coffee here and there.
Well, then you'll be happy to hear I'm going to show one of the best spinal mobility drills for people who sit in front of a computer.
Oh,
Hands down. Yeah.
that is
So,
that is what I need because yeah, it's not good right now, especially when you start to slouch. I try and work my posture, but I'm not the best at it.
right. So everyone's going to need either a thick towel that you can roll up,
Mm-hmm.
or if you have a foam roller. But yeah, one of those two things for the end and or near the end, but you
Yeah.
you want to stick around because it's super yummy. And like you were mentioning, if you sit at a desk, or what I'm going to talk about in the today's discussion about how we need to do this and why over the age of 40.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So for those joining us, I would love to hear where you guys are watching from. So if you can drop in the comments maybe what state you're watching from, that would be great. I'm in Florida right now, and it's just barely starting to get a little cooler, so we kind of feel that fall vibe right now. PJ, where are you coming from?
Canada. So I would love to know if there's any Canadians in the house. So I'm on the west coast of Canada, BC. We unfortunately are going through some catastrophic weather right now. Some of the communities near me have been evacuated due to flooding. We've had railroads down, highways down, supply chain down. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about something other than
Yeah,
disaster or weather for an hour.
yeah,
Oh,
that it's
Debbie from Indiana.
yes, there we go. A little Midwest for us. And Oregon. Oh, we've got some more West Coast for you. We're on opposite sides of the country, or I guess
Yeah,
continent. Yeah.
yeah.
Getting both of those coasts. Well, thank you both for joining. We have some other people on here, but I want to get started by introducing our very special guest. PJ Wren is a fitness trainer and coach, and she has been a personal trainer since 1995 and has spent the majority of her career helping women over 40 get fit and fierce. And I absolutely love that because I think a lot of us tend to think as we get older, we don't get to be as fierce or as strong as we were in our 20s and teens. And so the
Mm,
fact that that is
yeah.
what you are bringing forward, that no, you can be in the best shape of your life, or just happy with your strength at that age, is absolutely incredible. She is the founder of fitnesswithpj.com, which is a online fitness program developed for women, and she just recently released a new program which is Fitness Over 50. Is that correct?
Over 50 fitness.
Over 50 fitness, my bad, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But PJ, tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you got into this
um,
this world.
I've been in this world for almost 30 years, so I've been in it longer than I haven't been in it. I've been in the fitness industry either as a studio owner. I worked for many years at our leading cardiac rehab as an exercise leader in cardiac rehab. I produced and starred in my own fitness show that was aired across Canada. And then COVID hit.
Mhm.
So we shut down our operations and I went fully online. And the YouTube channel is specific for women over the age of 40. You touched upon briefly that we can be fit and fierce. And that's kind of what I'm trying to break down. I think a lot of us over the age of 40 are trying to break down that barrier, that ageism, where 40 has this look and it doesn't, right? We can be young looking, we can be vibrant, we can be beautiful, we can have purple hair, gray hair, we can be whatever we want. And that's the type of woman that comes and trains with us here on the Fitness with PJ YouTube channel. And then I took it one step further and started an on demand platform and an app called Over 50 Fitness. I wanted workouts that would help people over the age of 50 that worked but weren't lame. And I discovered that there wasn't a lot for the over 50 person. And, nothing against younger instructors, but what there was either instructors in their 20s showing moves that just won't work for everybody 50 and above, or else it was instructors in their 20s again, seated in a chair lifting 3-pound dumbbells. And that kind of ticked me off. So I thought, you know what, we can design a platform that will help all levels of fitness and, help people get fit in their own homes and with exercise, as I said, that work and that aren't lame or condescending. So yeah, I'm super excited we've got a full team built out there, and anything from strength to meditation is available on the app.
That's awesome. And I want to hit back on that phrase of, that are strong, not lame. We talked about this when I first met you, and that really struck a chord with me because that is what you're trying to build, is this fierceness that women
Yep.
have. And I think now the industry, and I've been a dancer and I've a yoga instructor in the past, and I feel like those fields, we get to be women and fierce in those worlds, but in the strength training world until recently, it kind of was like a man's world a little bit. And there wasn't a lot for women, and there wasn't a lot for women who, after having kids or after menopause and all of these different things that change your life. And so I really am inspired by everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks. And now things have shifted even further with COVID and now how do we do all this at home? And
Mhm.
yeah, that's sort of why the online platforms, I'm focused on this demographic because nothing personal, babe, but the 20 and 30-year-olds, you guys are taken care of. There are thousands of different channels and platforms that you can do, but the over 40, over 50, we have special needs. We may not be able to lunge, or we don't want to do burpees as a warm up. And this is where I'm hoping to, help out and fill that niche and fill that need.
I love it. Well, let's get started because we have some
Yeah.
great information to share with you guys. And today we are going to be talking about 5 main reasons on why you should be strength training after 40. So, PJ, tell me a little bit about this. Why should we, or why should women over 40 start
Yeah,
training?
well, I'm gonna, if you guys see me look down too, and I'm not looking at the camera, it's because I have notes, and I see that there's a couple of people here. Debbie hates burpees that
Same.
that I recognize. So hi, Colleen. Hi, Jane. Um, but you guys then know that I can go off on tangents. So I've got myself some notes so that we stay on topic and that you walk away with 5 really good reasons that you should be strength training, and then you also will be walking away with 3 movement patterns that we need to implement into our lives. So before we get busy, if you haven't already, make sure you grab a thick towel rolled up, or a foam roller will also work, okay? Because I'm going to show an amazing mobility drill in a little bit. So 5 reasons we need to be exercising or strength training for sure over the age of 40, and there's more than 5 reasons, but one of the top ones is to protect us against osteoporosis. Now, osteoporosis is a disease characterized by low bone mass and deterioration of bone tissue. And when this happens, it can lead to fractures. Now, it's known as the silent thief because we don't know that this is happening because there aren't any symptoms until we fracture a bone. Now,
Mm.
as women, as we approach menopause, our bone loss occurs at an increased rate. And when this bone loss happens, fractures can increase, especially in the hips, spine, shoulders, and wrist. And usually shoulders and wrist fractures because we fall and we extend our arm out.
Mm.
Now, to prevent this age related, because it is age related, there are other risk factors, but for this talk, as we get older, our risk really ramps up. So to help protect ourselves during this age-related bone loss, we need to stress the bones with a weight-bearing activity, and strength training is the best way to do that. You see, when you strength train, or when you lift up a dumbbell, for instance, so say I'm doing a bicep curl, all right?
Mhm.
Whatever muscle I'm working, that muscle's tugging on the bone. When it tugs on the bone, that will stimulate osteoblast, which will then lay down more bone tissue and improve your bone density and make your bones stronger. Now, a side note here, because there are a lot of women that do get diagnosed with osteopenia, which is just before osteoporosis, as well as osteoporosis, who do a lot of weight bearing activity. For instance, they'll do a lot of walking. Unfortunately, walking is not enough stimulus to stress the bones and the muscles. So this is why strength training is such a great activity. And they've seen improvements in bone tissue and increased bone density in as little as 3 sessions a week. Now,
I do
the
have
second reason,
sorry, I
yeah,
was just going to ask a question. You said walking isn't enough, it doesn't put enough stress on the bones, but would like body weight exercises like squats or lunges be enough on the
that's
bones?
that's a great question. If you're a beginner, yes,
Okay.
but the body adapts to any stress that you give it. This is why walking really doesn't help that much, because we're all walking, especially if
Mhm.
you're an avid walker to begin with. So if you are a beginner, then a body weight squat will stimulate the muscles and then those osteoblasts for sure. But within 2 to 4 weeks, if you're doing it consistently, you're going to then have to progress and what we call progressive overload. So then add a dumbbell so that we then keep stimulating the muscle.
Awesome. All right. Well, that answered my question.
Yeah, and then for those of you that are walking, if you're like, well, PJ, I like walking, what I recommend then is to buy a weighted vest. And I just did an osteoporosis webinar. This is why I can go off for hours on this one topic. But a weighted vest is a really great way to increase the intensity without putting any stress to the joints. So I'm not a fan of people putting on ankle weights or wrist weights when they're going for a walk, because unfortunately, that's just going to give you an overuse injury because you're going for a prolonged time. What
Hmm.
I prefer more is a weighted vest where it sits close to the body, and that won't give you any stress, especially into the low back. Now, you can MacGyver a weight vest by putting an 8-pound dumbbell in a backpack. It will shift a bit and it's a little uncomfortable. In my osteoporosis group, they tried that and they didn't like that much. So you can buy them fairly inexpensive on Amazon. 5-8 pounds will be enough to help stimulate the bones or stimulate the muscle to tug on those bones more if walking is your thing, but you got to strength train. If you have osteoporosis, there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Okay. Well, there we
Now,
go.
the
Number one tip.
second, there you go, number one tip. And don't think that osteoporosis won't happen. As we age, it happens to everybody. So women sooner, because estrogen is a bone protector. And as we get closer to menopause, we decrease the estrogen production. But men too. So after the age of 65, men's increased fracture risk due to osteoporosis really
Okay.
ramps up as well. Now, the second thing that why we need to strength train is because it builds our lean muscle tissue. Now, we start to lose lean muscle tissue at the age of 30. Actually, we start to lose bone density too at the age of 30. So pretty much after the age of 30, it goes downhill from there. But we start to lose lean muscle at the age of 30 at a rate of 3 to 8% per decade. Now, with this comes a decrease in our metabolism, because the
Mhm.
more lean muscle tissue we have, the higher calorie burn that we have. As well, our functional strength decreases, and then we increase our chances for diseases like I just mentioned, osteoporosis and osteopenia. Now, strength training is also a much more effective way to lose and maintain body fat when you're over the age of 40, because, like I mentioned, it increases our lean muscle tissue and it requires more calories for the body to keep that muscle tissue warm than it does to keep body fat warm. So we ramp up our ability to burn fat, whether we're seated here listening to this or we're out there in the gym. Now, with that said, we also need cardio. We can't forget about the two biggest organs in the body, the heart and the lungs. So we need to add cardio to our workouts as well. And this is why I add cardio in a lot of my workouts on the app, so that the subscribers to the app, they get the best of both worlds. You get your strength and you get your cardio in. So an example of this would be a circuit of compound exercises. So compound exercises, that's just what we call in the fitness industry an exercise that moves more than one joint. So a
Hmm.
squat is a really good compound exercise. And when we use a compound exercise in a workout program, that's going to put more demand on the heart because it has to pump more blood to more than just one muscle. So bicep curl, single joint, not a compound. Okay, shoulder press, compound because now I'm moving more than one joint.
Yeah.
So you'd want to take a look at a circuit of, say, a squat, maybe to a chest press, then to a row, then to a lunge with bicep curls, so we're moving more than one joint, and then to a push press with very little rest in between, and then cycling through those 3 to 5 times. That's a great way to combine both strength and cardio so we get the benefit of both for our heart and lungs, as well as strength for our muscles and build that lean muscle tissue. Now, this type of training, if you're brand new to exercise and you're like, that just freaked me right out. Okay, this type of training is good no matter what level you're at. And we've touched upon this briefly on the osteoporosis. If you're a beginner, then body weight will be most likely where you will start at. And then as you get fitter, we add those dumbbells. So it's all relevant to where you are right now in your fitness journey, as well as how you're feeling too. We've got to respect that. And I try to, convey that both on the app and on the YouTube channel, that every day is going to be different and we're not machines and can't expect the same output every week. And we just need to respect that of our bodies. As long as we're doing our best at that time and consistently, then you're going to reap the benefits. Trainers promise. Now, a lot of women shy away from lifting weights because they fear it will bulk them up. Now, I don't know why this myth won't die. I started in the industry almost 30 years ago, and it was a myth then, and it's still rampant. So please, for the love of Pete, let's get rid of the myth right here. We can't, for one, we can't build that type of muscle that women are afraid of because we aren't producing the hormone that's needed. We're not producing the production of the hormone that's needed to get those large muscles, which is testosterone. Mm-hmm. It's also insanely hard to build muscle. I've been trying it for years. Building muscle is a long, slow process that requires years of consistency, dedication, and effort. Most people don't put in enough time or effort to create these kind of physiques that they're scared of. It takes several years for those bodybuilders to put that type of mass on. And those bodybuilders that also have that mass, they're doing it in gyms with spotters and in machines because there's only so much weight, like especially women, that we can actually physically hold. So if you're training at home, don't worry, you're not going to get bulky. All right. Instead, you're going to increase that lean muscle tissue, which will enable you to help burn fat better.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up because I was just thinking about when I was in high school, and that was kind of the misconception that I think everyone had, and I'm from the dance world, and they thought, oh, if we go to the gym, that's going to give us not that lean muscle look that you typically see in dance. And now I realize that actually is going to give you the look that you're wanting and the strength that you're wanting. And if you're a dancer or someone in yoga, you need that strength training to be able to perform at the level that you're expected to. And so I'm with you. I hope that myth dies because that's something I believed when I was younger as well.
Yeah. And it's still out there. And then what you just said about the dancing, that brings me into my third point, is that strength training can also indirectly help with our mobility. So when you dance, you have to be quite mobile. And one of the reasons to be mobile too is you have to have stability in your joint. Unfortunately, as we age, our ability to move our joints freely and with that stability, it decreases. And I think a lot of it is simply because we aren't moving our joints through the full range of motion. So if we don't use it, we lose it. But and this is called, movement through the joints. This is called mobility. So it can't be, don't confuse it with flexibility. Flexibility is a passive stretch of the muscle. So right now, I'm increasing the flexibility of my deltoid, my shoulder, maybe even a bit of my tricep. Now, I'm increasing the mobility of my shoulder. So that's the difference. With mobility, we're doing movement drills.
And would you say mobility is like the range of motion that you have of a joint?
That's exactly what it is. Okay. Yeah. It's exactly it. So reduced mobility, well, it's obviously going to set us up for an injury. And on the most extreme, you see people who with reduced mobility issues. The most extreme is they can't walk. So, we don't want that at all. But if you do start to reduce mobility, and I see it a lot with people over the age of 50 in our shoulders, and that's because we're not moving through the proper joints. So I'm going to, do a very yummy stretch or mobility drill at the end of this. But you need to, as I said, this mobility or strength training isn't going to directly increase your mobility. All right. But what it will do is strengthen the muscles so that your joints are more stable. So when you accompany the strength training program with also a good mobility program, you will move better than you did in your 20s. I promise. And as I said, at the end of this, I'm going to lead you through an awesome mobility drill for the spine.
Yes, I'm very excited about that.
Let's just get to that.
Yeah.
The fourth reason we should be strength training is it does help decrease joint pain and injuries. As I mentioned above, if you don't use it, you lose it. And this is why most pain and injury occurs, is simply because we're not moving enough. With proper strength training program, you'll hit all the muscles in the body and you'll keep the joints moving, keep the muscles strong to protect those joints, and then decrease your chance of injuring yourself. It's important to note that you also can't willy-nilly or cherry pick your workouts if you want best results. So you can't go onto YouTube and just cherry pick whatever workouts you want to do. You need a plan. You need to have a balanced program. And this is why all of our members at Over 50 Fitness, they get workout programs. They get an actual calendar to follow, because I wanted to make sure that our members got results, and they got results without hurting themselves. So what does that look like for you? Well, you want to find a program that's going to get you strength training 2 to 3 times a week, progressive overload, so you're increasing your weight as you go. You also want a regular mobility and flexibility work. So by regular, I mean ideally daily, but as regular as you can through the week. And then 2 to 3 times a week cardio. I see a question. Do we answer those after?
We can answer it now. Why not?
Okay. Hey, Paula. Individuals with arthritis. I have several chronic health.
Oh, where did she find your class groups?
Oh, so if you want the osteoporosis, is that the program you want? Is the osteoporosis, Paula? That's on my website, fitnesswithpj.com. And I don't know if I can type in there, but
I'll make sure
Naya,
that
maybe
we
if
do
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
We can
and
do
then
that
you'll
for
see the 30-day osteoporosis there, Paula.
Yeah.
So and it'll be good for osteoarthritis as well.
Perfect. I'll get that over to her.
Thanks. And then finally, strength training can help reduce stress and anxiety, which is really beneficial, improving our mental health. There are definite psychological benefits to strength training, and studies have shown improvements in individuals' moods going from negative to positive, improving their anxiety, as well as their perceived confidence in as little as 8 weeks of training. And this was 2 times a week strength training the study came from. So that's pretty cool. Current research has demonstrated that strength training is a powerful care model for the aging population. And if we're lucky, that's what we'll be, right? We want to be aging. We don't want the alternative. So I got to ask all of you, do you want to live your best life? And yeah, it's going to be a hell yeah, right?
Yeah.
There's not going to be one person here saying, no, I want to be bloody miserable. No, we want to live our best life no matter what our age is. And regular exercise with strength training is your ticket to doing just that. You can look at the research, and you can also take my word to close to 30 years of working with women over the age of 40. Magic happens. Just be consistent.
I love that. And tying in that last reason about mental health, we talk a lot about different ways, self-care and how can we, raise our mental health and our wellness. And fitness is probably one of the easiest ways you can do that. Whenever I work out, I immediately I've never regretted working out. And I know people say that all the time and it's so cliche, but it's true. Whenever I do something as simple as some yoga or,
Yep.
a little circuit workout, immediately I'm like, those endorphins kick in and you feel so much better, and you don't regret taking the 20, 30 minutes or an hour of your time to do it. It's always worth it.
Another thing that happens too, especially with more intense exercise, is it can be almost meditative
Mm-hmm.
because you can only be in the moment, right? When this is why I love hiking too. I take my dogs and we go on some fairly aggressive hikes because all I can think about is just putting my foot in front or getting over that root or over that log, and it brings me into the moment. I'm out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the same exact thing can happen with intense exercise or with exercise that you're new to. So, if I'm trying to learn a dance move, then I've got to really focus and I'm out of my head. And we know the studies with meditation and just getting out of your head and being in the moment is such a positive outlook for our health. So
It's extremely important to, let go of, or for a moment be able to let go of what worries or stresses you
oh
have
my God,
going on
yeah.
that day. We
Pardon
all
my
need
French,
that.
but let go of the shit. Let
Yeah.
go of the shit. I'm just taking my shoes off because you guys, we're going to need our shoes off for this next
Okay.
one. So
And PJ did mention that if you are going to join us, or you should be joining us with this
you are joining us.
mobility,
You guys are here. You're not going anywhere.
but we are doing a few different exercises, and one of them is going to require a foam roller, or if you don't have a foam roller, a thick towel rolled up. Correct?
Yeah.
Perfect.
The first thing I want to do with you is called a sit to stand test. All
Okay.
right. Now I'll explain it. I'll show you. We'll do it together, and then I'll explain the results and where the sit to stand, came to be. So
Okay.
in this test, we're going to sit down on the floor cross-legged and then stand up again without bracing yourself with your hands, knees, arms, or sides of your legs. All right. If
Yes.
you can do both without the aid of any of those body parts, you score a perfect 10. Every time you support yourself with one of these forbidden joints or appendages, you get a point. So if you drop your butt to the ground and have to brace yourself with your hands, that's a
Mm-hmm.
point. To stand up, if you have to roll onto the side of your leg to get yourself up, that's a point. All right, we want to aim for a perfect score of 10. So again, I'm going to demo, and you guys need your shoes off. And even with a torn rotator cuff, you can do this. So, all right. So,
Let's go.
can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. All right. So, I'm going to cross my legs over. I don't want to touch the ground at all with my arms or the sides of my legs. All right. So, now I'm down. I scored 5 points there. Now I come up. Perfect 10.
Okay.
All right. So, now I want everybody standing.
Oh.
Jane, Paula, Ann, Debbie, Colleen, Clara. All right. So, ready? Cross your legs. Here, cross your legs and sit yourself down. Good. And come on up. Naya gets up like it's nothing. It's going to be a little challenging for the rest of us because we're a little older. All
I'm
right.
just trying to make sure that by the time I'm, your age, I'm as fit as you.
Oh, you're gonna be good, girl. All right. So here, let me explain why I just made you do this. All right. In this test, researchers in Brazil, they came up with this test. They tested 2,000 adults ranging from 51 to 80 years of age. And then they followed the participants till either they passed away or until the study was done, which was just over 6 years. During that time, 159 people passed away, and of those, only 2 of them had scored a perfect 10. All right. And of those who had the lowest score, 0 to 3 points, had a risk of death that was 5 to 6 times higher.
Wow.
So the research has concluded that what we just did, okay, so it tested your body flexibility, it tested your muscle strength, power to body weight ratio, and coordination. So those are all needed for daily living, but they also found that it has favorable influences on life expectancy, which is pretty cool. Now, I wish that doctors would perform that. I wish we went into our doctor for our checkup and, maybe we came back with our blood work for our blood sugars, our cholesterol, and then he takes our blood pressure. And I would love for them to do that as well, to take a look, because I believe doctors should be prescribing exercise more.
Oh, I do have
Paula,
a
is
little.
there?
Oh,
Yeah.
go. I was going to say, how can they help if you didn't get a perfect score? What are some things you can do to help get a perfect score with that move?
Join my program. No. Start strength training. All right.
Okay.
That's going to be, and if you didn't score a perfect score, there's things that are lacking in your regular program. So the one thing I want you to do is just pick one thing and add that. I find too many of us, especially women, we put too much on our plate, and then after a couple weeks, we just can't keep that up. So if you haven't been strength training, then just add strength training. And then a few weeks after that, maybe add that cardio component I was talking about. And then maybe a month after that, add that flexibility and mobility. Make them in chunkable, easily digestible ways for you to get your butt, so that you're not having to self-motivate. That it's easy, it becomes a habit. So
there we go.
Now the second movement, so now there's a movement pattern that I want to teach you guys, and it's called a hip hinge. And this is really important when you strength train, because we do hip hinge, especially if you're training at home. A lot of you won't have access to a weight bench, etc. It's basically you, pair of dumbbells, and maybe your chair. So you want to know a hip hinge for one arm row patterns. You want to know a hip hinge for deadlift. And then if you do have any sort of osteoarthritis or osteoporosis of the spine, you want to know a hip hinge, because if you round, that can increase your chances of fracturing the spine. So I'll get everybody standing on this one. I'm going to move my screen a bit. All right, so feet shoulder width apart, all right, and then bend and soften your knees ever so slightly. Now take your thumb and place it in your xiphoid process, and that's just at that V there, just under the boobs. Now take the other finger and place it on the belly button. Now pull it apart and take a look at that distance, and then put it back, okay? So I'm just coming to my side so you can see me. Soften your knees and push your bum to the wall behind you and hinge forward, keeping that space between your fingers consistent, and come up again. Good. Do it again. So when you come down, your fingers aren't coming together. All right, here we go. Bend your knees a bit, push your bum back, hinge forward, and come up. And do it again. Shoulders back and down, gaze straight ahead. This is a hip hinge. If you can learn and master that, your low back will love you, and you won't be sending your chiropractor, massage therapist, or physiotherapist on their next Hawaiian vacation. Because unfortunately, you guys can have a seat. When people do lift, this is what happens, is they'll lift from the waist. That's a really exaggerated motion, but there'll be some sort of aspect of that. And that it places the spine out of alignment, places a lot of stress on the vertebrae, and you'll work yourself up to either a slip disc, or if you have osteoporosis, a cracked vertebrae on the anterior side. So a hip hinge is an uber important movement pattern to learn when you start lifting. And we cue that like you wouldn't believe when we teach it on the app, because it is really important. All right. And I'll answer that in a sec. Sorry. All right. The final thing is our T-spine mobility drill. All right. This is the one that I've been waiting for. So the T-spine, you guys can stay seated. I just want to show you. So your T-spine's about right there, okay, to there. All right. It's the largest part of the spine, and it's actually the most vulnerable too if you have osteoporosis. But as we age, or if you're sitting at a computer desk a lot, we tend to get in this semi-rounded position, and we lose the ability for our T-spine to extend, all right, to rotate, and to flex even slightly. Now, this area of our back should be mobile. It should be very mobile, and it helps us when we're doing, for instance, overhead presses. The T-spine will extend ever so slightly to allow that pathway. Now, if we don't have any, if our T-spine's locked up and we start to do this movement pattern, well, it's going to take something. And what it's going to take is the low back, which should be stable. And now we're using our low back and we're pressing the dumbbells, and you're going to set yourself up for a low back injury. I see so many low back injuries due to tight T-spines. As well, when we get older, we start getting frozen shoulder. Now, do not quote me on this. Well, every woman I've worked with who is postmenopausal has had frozen shoulder. I truly believe that there's a hormonal aspect to it. Frozen shoulder is going to freeze the shoulder, but it also will freeze into the joints, into the T-spine as well. And the most important thing you can do with frozen shoulder is to keep it moving. So, and with your torn rotator cuff, I want you to do one of the movements, but when we start moving the arms, don't do it. Okay, babe? All right. So let me show you, and then I'm going to coach you through it. Okay. So let me just get it so I can see myself. And please join me, you guys, all right? I don't want to be the only one down here. All right, so this is my foam roller. It's just a half foam roller. What I'm going to do is I want it situated just below the shoulder blades, just below them, okay? So almost where the bra strap is. And, see me?
Yes, we can see you, yeah.
Perfect. All right, so there it is. Now I'm going to interlace my hands to protect my neck. I'm going to let my head drop into my neck just like a hammock. Now from here, I'm going to drape over by moving over my foam roller, by moving through my T-spine, not my neck, and then do a mini crunch back up. All right, so let's get everybody set up. So,
all right,
knees are bent to protect the low back. Interlace the hands behind the head. Position the foam roller just underneath the tips of the shoulder blades or where the bra strap is on you. Good. Now tuck the chin in a little bit, almost like you're doing a mini crunch. And now let everything roll over your towel or foam roller. If your back of your knuckles can hit the ground, awesome. And then inhale and crunch up again. So we're moving. Do it again. We're moving through this, so that makes it the mobility drill, right? And we're working T-spine extension, what I see locked up on most people. Not everyone, but most. Now, if you can, I want you to let yourself drop all the way back. Good. Now, if your head is touching the ground, I want you to remove your hand. So this is where you won't do. This is the one you won't do, Jane. And now bring your arms straight up, thumbs pointed behind you. Drop the arms fairly straight behind the head. See if you can get the thumbs to touch the ground and then bring them back up. Do it again. If you start to feel your low back, I want that foam roller to go just a tad lower on the spine and draw the belly button in so that we're activating the core. Because again, the movement should be in that T-spine area, not your low back. And then if you'd like, you can extend the arms straight overhead and just hold them here, or interlace them back behind the head and just hold it here and breathe. And slowly come on out of it. And that is my very yummy T-spine mobility drill. So
yummy is definitely a way to describe it. It felt very good.
You had a really thick foam roller. Were you able to get your head on against? Yeah, were you? Okay, good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yes.
Did anybody try it?
Hope we see some raised hands. Jane, let's see. Clara,
yes, you can do that if you have osteoporosis because we're extending. You don't want to flex the spine. Yes, we actually want to work more extension as well as postural muscles.
I loved it. Oh, Jane, heck yes. There we go. Well,
way to go, Jane.
That was awesome. I loved it. I loved all of the exercises. The hip hinge is always one that feels really good as well and is the perfect setup for, I'm sure, certain moves you have in your program.
Yeah, and for any, if you decide to, I hope you guys, try it out. We do have a free 14-day trial. Maybe Naya, you can type in, it's over50fitness.co, and you spell out 50. But even if, any workout you do on YouTube, fitness classes, the hip hinge is a really important, or just doing daily activities, right? We need to think about those as well, especially Clara with the osteoporosis in the spine is, how are you bending over to get that pan out of your oven? How are you gardening, right? Are we using our legs as well as learning that hip hinge? So
yeah, I absolutely loved it. And PJ, I just want to say thank you again for joining us and for talking about why we need to be exercising, especially as we go into the new year. This is something that a lot of us talk about, that we need to get back
I know,
in
but you
shape.
guys don't do
No,
the New Year thing. Start
well,
now.
yes, exactly. But that's what I was going to lead into, is that there's no better time than right now to really start
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
focusing. Yeah. So there's
Thank
no
you.
better
Thank you.
time
Especially because we're getting older every day. So we need to start now. If you haven't started now, we need to get you started. And if you're
yes.
not sure where to start, there's a couple of websites there. So I do want to answer Jane though. She has a torn rotator cuff. So yeah, there's a lot of exercises you need to stay away from. First off, is I really hope you are seeing a physiotherapist. That's what they're called here in Canada. I think they're called physical therapists in the States. They are worth their weight in gold, and I actually find them better than GPs because they study musculoskeletal for years. GPs just get, one chapter when they're in university. So see a physical therapist, and then exercises to avoid: mountain climbers, straight arm planks, push-ups. All right, anything that's going to internally rotate the shoulder, we want to avoid. We want to think postural work, rotator cuffless, external rotation for you. There we go.
There we go. That's some great advice, because I'm sure it's very difficult to start working out when you have such a severe injury. Well, PJ, again, thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've loved everything that you shared with us and the exercises. I feel so much better, and I'm going to probably sleep like a little baby after that whole spine mobility thing. It felt great.
It is late where you are, isn't it?
It is. It is over.
It's
It's
dinner
past
time
9
where I'm
p.m.
at.
Yeah, so you're ready, and I'm going to be heading to bed. But I want to thank everyone who joined us and did the exercises with us. We hope that you enjoyed this with PJ. And if you have any questions, put them down in the comments. Either someone from Rocky Mountain Oils or PJ will be able to answer them for you. And I hope everyone has a fantastic night. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Yes. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.